Well, morning, everybody. Um, Today's passage is 2 Corinthians 3, 5 to 10. And often I read a passage of Paul's writing and I think, okay, that's reasonably straightforward. I understand that. I get what he means. And then I read it again, slowly and carefully, and I think, actually, no. I don't really understand what he's talking about at all. I don't think this is because Paul is a bad communicator, but he's writing in Greek, and translation is not an easy thing to do well, particularly if you're talking about complex ideas. And I normally use the NIV, and it's quite a literal translation, which tries to be faithful by translating Paul word for word. But the irony of taking this approach is that by being very literal and being very word for word, you can make the passage more difficult to understand. So today I'm going to use the New Living Translation, which may be less familiar, but I think maybe is a bit easy to understand. So if it sounds a bit strange, that's why it is. And it goes like this. Examine yourselves to see if your faith is genuine. Test yourselves. Surely you know that Jesus Christ is among you. If not, you have failed the test of genuine faith. As you test yourselves, I hope you will recognize that we have not failed the test of apostolic authority. We pray to God that you will not do what is wrong by refusing our correction. I hope we won't need to demonstrate our authority when we arrive. Do the right thing before we come, even if that makes it look like we have failed to demonstrate our authority. For we cannot oppose the truth, but must always stand for the truth. We are glad to seem weak if it helps show that you are actually strong. We pray that you will become mature. I'm writing this to you before I come, hoping that I won't need to deal severely with you when I do come. For I want to use the authority the Lord has given me to strengthen you, not tear it down. And the bit that struck me from this passage was the first verse, the instruction to test yourself. And my immediate reaction was, that's quite a scary challenge. Because what if you don't pass the test and you find that you're not true to your faith? And then everything crumbles. The life you've built, the choices you've made, the sacrifices you've made, your sense of self and self-worth, all have been shown to be built on sand. Yeah, well, it would be understandable not to want to risk putting everything to the test in that way. And I suppose I thought on this a bit more, and I suppose when I first read that, test yourself and put your faith to your test, I immediately thought of the situations where you have a choice of stepping out in faith or not, of taking a big risk with a life choice, like moving job or going to work in some sort of full-time Christian ministry, or taking a big risk, like speaking to a close family member or friend about Jesus and risking rejection. But I thought, and there the question is God going to deliver, or will you be disappointed? And I read the passage again more carefully, and I realized that's not what Paul is asking his readers to do. He's saying, test yourself. Don't put God to the test. Are you true to your faith? And I thought, well, that's a test we can't reasonably avoid. We can't follow Christ half-heartedly or in a superficial way, where we don't seriously engage with being a disciple because you can't do that for any length of time without the contradictions of trying to do it becoming apparent and unbearable. We'll know our lives are inauthentic, and that will make us dissatisfied. So I thought, actually, this is a test we cannot avoid. But then I started worrying, how do I know if I've passed the test? What is genuine faith? How do I know if Christ is really living in me and I'm not making it up in my head? I think Paul may provide an answer to this in Galatians 5:22 to 23. Because he says there, if you have Christ's Spirit in you, you will produce fruit. And that the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. And if we are examining ourselves and asking, is our faith genuine? We should be looking to see if we're growing in these areas. And I think we need to be aware that we can move from a situation where we have been passing the test and growing in fruitfulness, but then we can take our eye off the ball and stop growing or going backwards. And if we realize that we are not producing fruit, we should not despair or assume that our faith is not genuine, so give up on it. No, we should act with humility, seek forgiveness, and change. A different translation, the Message, translates verses 5 or 6 in a way that is very blunt, but very clear, and I think gives a bit of a different spin on it. And it says this: test yourselves to make sure you are solid in the faith. Don't drift along, taking everything for granted. Give yourselves regular checkups. You need first-hand evidence, not mere hearsay, that Jesus is in you. Test it out. If you fail the test, do something about it. So today, let's reflect on where we are with God. Is our faith growing and deepening in that all-important area of the fruit of the Spirit? And I'll say them again: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. And if that's not what's happening in your life, what needs to change?